So a new Terraria mod called Calamity Fables was just announced by IbanPlay, one of the former developers for the Calamity Mod and genuinely one of the best pixel artists and artists in general that I've ever had the pleasure to discover on the internet. It's being labeled as a mod that adds ideas that former developers including IbanPlay couldn't or literally weren't allowed to see through during their time working on Calamity. Okay, so to give a little backstory on this, in December of 2022 a grand total of I think 22 devs jumped off the burning ship that was the Calamity Mod because of their displeasure with how Fabsol was running things. These 22 devs included the main artist of the entire mod and a bunch of other really talented people that were, let's be honest, carrying the entire mod on their shoulders. This was honestly, for me, the moment when I lost a lot of my interest in the Calamity Mod because, oh my god, look at all this stuff, it's so cool and now none of it is ever getting implemented. Development of the mod has also just slowed down so much since then, and there's also been some pretty questionable additions which hasn't helped bring my interest back to Calamity. But today, the Calamity Mod flame has just been reignited for me, and it isn't even because of the mod itself, but rather because of this rework mod. From the teaser trailer, we can already see amazing renditions of Desert Scourge and Crabulon, as well as that Snidrion resprite from all the way back in 2022. Already, these two sprites as well as the boss animations look far better than their original Calamity versions, Crabulon especially. I'm sure some of you are wondering though, how is this mod gonna be as good as Calamity? It doesn't have the 7 to 8 years of development that Calamity has had, it's going to have to build the mod up from scratch. That's thousands of items, like 30 bosses, sprites, music, mobs, biomes, everything. And none of this is even being done by the main Calamity team. Well, let me tell you that this mod is being worked on by such talented people. IbanPlay, of course, is probably the most important developer and artist to be working on this mod, but just out of the ones I recognize from their work on the Draydon update, there's Dame, who does good pixel art, Moonburn with their incredible sound design, Rover Drive X, Runefield, Skeletoni, and so many others that I'm sure are just as talented. It's going to be incredible, and this team of people are going to work fast with quality in everything they design. IbanPlay has said on Twitter that they're working on implementing the Sunken Sea as well as moving into early hard mode, so they're making strides already. With that said, I want to go over just all the things that we're probably going to see in this mod as it updates. As Iban said, there's going to be a lot of ideas implemented that were originally going to be in the main mod, but ended up being scrapped due to the devs behind those ideas leaving. Iban was basically planning to resprite every boss in the mod, and he's already shared with us a lot of those scrapped redesigns, most of which are probably going to be featured in this mod. So let's go over a bunch of them. Hivemind has had a sprite made that was never implemented into the Calamity mod. It looks a lot more animated than the one that's currently in the mod. The Perforator Hive had one of the biggest redesigns that never got into the mod. The cyst would be this rotting corpse that would sprout out the hive when destroyed. This one is such a cool idea, and obviously looks a lot cleaner than the current design. Cryogen also had a resprite, again with a much cooler design than the one that's currently in the mod. There's a lot of concept art floating around for Aquatic Scourge and the Brimstone Elemental, and Calamitous Clone has this really cool concept art that just barely missed getting in. Does she still look like an eye in normal Calamity? Oh, yep, she does. Wow. Ravager has a cool redesign that was super close to getting in the mod, but never was. Fun fact, the Ravager relic in the Calamity mod is still designed after this idea, 2.5 years later. I mean, if that doesn't tell you how slow development has been for the Calamity mod, then I don't know what does. Ceaseless Void has some art which looks a lot more interesting than the currently planned resprite in Calamity, and Poltergeist will most definitely receive one of the most deserved resprites of all time. One of the things I'm looking most forward to is the Devourer of Gods redesign that IbanPlay proposed all those years ago. I was so hyped when he revealed the look of this new Devourer of Gods, only to be super disappointed when Iban left and it was never to be used. I was then doubly disappointed when Heart Plus Up revealed their resprite of DOG, which comparatively is just not as interesting. This one is such a better idea. It gives him some actual character, some distinguishable features, instead of just being some spiky worm thing. And I also love how he dons his golden auric armor upon shifting in the phase 2, instead of just somehow growing larger. It's another idea that still remains in the relic after all these years. I really don't know how nobody has resprited these yet. And along with the Devourer of Gods, Stormweaver also has a redesign that drastically changes the way it looks. Yeren, of course, is finally going to get a resprite in this mod. I don't know if it's going to be that one by Nitro or what, but what I do know is that I will not be sad at all to see the 7-year-old sprite replaced. Draydon and his Exomex will likely stay the same, albeit with different animations and attacks. This is because Iban is actually the spriter behind the exomechs, so he's perfectly liable to transfer them into Fables. The same thing applies to Sepulture, Supreme Catastrophe, Cataclysm, and Calamitous, but she'll probably end up being a proper NPC boss instead of just having this weird tacky shield. With how slow development seems to be going over on the Calamity mod, I honestly wouldn't be too surprised if Fables manages to implement their own Yaharim boss fight before Calamity does, a character I've wanted to fight for as long as I can remember. Of course, this is far into the future, but definitely something that could happen. And outside of the bosses, I'm also super eager to see how the Fables team tackles things like the Abyss, the Sunken Sea, the Brimstone Crags, the Dradon Laboratories, the lore surrounding Yaharim and the Dragons, Xerox, Braylor, Status, Silva. One of the things mentioned in their mission statement is that they're going to integrate environmental storytelling and immerse players in dynamic storylines. Calamity did their best in trying to implement lore into their mod, but I honestly think that Fables is going to do it so much better. Of course, there's so many other things that you could talk about with this rework, but these are just the biggest things that I am immediately excited for with this mod. I think it's going to be really interesting how this mod clashes with Calamity. Once Fables starts to grow as large as its counterpart, I wonder if people are going to start switching over, and if it'll grow as popular as the original. There is certainly a whole lot of drama between these two mods, with this entire rework basically just being an FU to Fabsol and the rest of Calamity. Regardless of what happens, I'll definitely be here to play it. I can't wait for what Iban and the team have been cooking up. So thank you, Fables, for reigniting my interest in Calamity, and for attempting to reimagine this mod that could have been so much better. But anyways, that's all I got. Thanks for watching, go check out Calamity Fables, and I'll see you later.